Hello everybody, this is Tushar sir here, and today we are going to discuss some of the popular quotes from Shakespeare's works. And here I'll tell you who and why of these dialogues or these quotes, that is, who uttered them and why did he or she utter these dialogues. So let's begin with the first one, which is from Julius Caesar, Act 2nd, Scene 2nd, and it is, "Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once." So this is uttered by Julius Caesar himself when Calpurnia expressed her worries about him. She saw a dream, a bad dream about Julius Caesar, and she was quite apprehensive, and she didn't want him to go out of the house, or say the palace, or to go out into the court. So Julius Caesar, in response to that, said this, which he actually meant that he wouldn't like to live like cowards and die daily. Rather, being a valiant or being a courageous person, he would like to meet death once but bravely. So that's what he said, and that's what he meant. Now the second one is again from Julius Caesar, and it is, "Men at some time are masters of their fates. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings." So this is said by Cassius to Brutus, and Cassius is trying to convince Brutus about the killing of Julius Caesar. So he wanted to convince Brutus and wants to tell him that what they are going to do is correct and they should execute their plan. So what he meant by this is, an individual is the master of his own destiny or his own fate. It is not something governed by the stars. So the fault is not of the stars. It's not that something is written in the destiny or something is written by the stars and that would happen. Rather, he said the thing is that the individuals are weak and they don't try to make their destiny themselves. Rather, they go by their fates or their destiny. So that is the problem. So this way he is trying to convince Brutus in killing Julius Caesar. The next one is, "What's in a name that which we call a rose by any other word would smell as sweet?" So this is from Romeo and Juliet and said by Juliet to Romeo, and she actually meant name doesn't matter. Actually, Romeo belonged to the Montague family and Juliet to Capulet family, and both were enemies, warring families. Even the mention of their names would cause a war. Such enmity was there in the two families. So this was said by Juliet to Romeo, and she actually meant that why we say the families quarrel after their names. So what does that matter? That even if we change our names, our qualities or virtues won't change. Just like if the name of a rose is changed, the smell won't change. It will be as sweet as before. So the name doesn't matter at all. That's what he is trying to say, that the families who who were quarreling after their names, Montague and Capulet. So she was trying to explain that thing here, that it doesn't matter at all. The next one is from As You Like It, and it is, all the world is a stage and all the men and women merely players. So it was spoken by Jakes, a faithful lord to Duke Senior. So actually it was spoken in continuance of an idea given by Orlando earlier in the play. Actually they all went to the forest of Ardennes, and there it was spoken by Jakes in the forest of Ardennes, as I said, in continuance of an idea given by Orlando. Orlando is can be said as one of the heroes of the play, the younger brother of Oliver, who got a bit spoiled under the neglected care of his brother, but okay, later came out of that. So yes, the next one is from King Henry IV, that is, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, and this was spoken by King himself, King Henry himself. He was quite tired, feeling guilty and sick, and quite overwhelmed by the rebellion, and this is what he says at that time. Actually, what he meant is, one who has responsibility can not be easy. He is always restless, cannot lead an easy life. That's what he means, that one who has responsibility or one who shoulders responsibility is always in trouble and is always restless. Similarly, in the former one, in the fourth one taken from As You Like It, what it means is that just as in a play there are characters who come and play their roles whenever it is there, they come to the stage, play their role, and then they leave the stage. Similarly, all men and women are just like the characters of a play. So when they have to play their roles, they come on this earth, and when their role is over, they take off from this earth. So this is what it meant. Next one is from The Merchant of Venice, that is, all that glitters is not gold. Here Prince of Morocco, actually different suitors come to woo Portia. They as the father had already written in his will, that Portia's father actually, that whoever would find the right casket, that means the casket which possessed Portia's portrait, will have Portia's hand in marriage. So that's what father, and also the whole kingdom and everything which was meant for Portia. So when Prince of Morocco, one of the suitors who came to Portia, chose gold casket, and when the casket was opened, there was a scroll in that which had this: all that glitters is not gold, which meant, or we can interpret it in this way, that love is not just all shine, Rather, it brings with it responsibility and obligations as well. So it's not just all shine only. There are other things as well. So Prince of Morocco chose gold, but actually there was no portrait in that. So this is what it meant, that he thought that the gold would be containing her portrait, but there was no portrait in that, just a scroll. Next is Frailty Thy Name is Woman from Hamlet. So it was spoken by Prince Hamlet when he found out that her mother Gertrude, how frail and weak and unfaithful she was, that just after a month of his father's death, she married Claudius, that is Hamlet's uncle. So just after a month. So he felt it very bad, and in that regard, in that connection, he is saying so that frailty thy name is woman. That woman is weak, or say women by nature are generally weak. That's what he meant. That unfaithful and disloyal, that it had not been a month or so, and she just married his uncle Claudius. So he was quite disturbed by all that had happened, and that's how he uttered this. Next one is from Twelfth Night. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. So this is spoken by Malvolio, one who is a steward, that is the head servant to Olivia, and he was mistaken actually, and it was a cruel joke played by the other servants to Malvolio in the form of a letter, which actually mentioned this dialogue that some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. And Malvolio thought that letter was from Olivia, and she was in love with Malvolio, and she wanted him to rise above that status and understand her love or accept her love. So this was mistaken by Malvolio. He wished to come out of that status of a servant, and he started aspiring for the love of Olivia. So that's how all this happened. Next one is from Henry IV, and it is the better part of valor is discretion. It was spoken by Falstaff to Prince Hal when he was in danger of being killed at the hands of Scotsmen. So he feigned death. Falstaff actually, he just lay there and he feigned death. So the prince thought that he had died. Later he revealed this thing, and he said this to Prince, that discretion is better part of valor. That means he actually was trying to say, it was better to be alive than dying showing valor. So he simply feigned his death there in that way. So he was actually trying to convert his timidity or his cowardice in that way through a witty remark. So that's how it is. Next one is from King Lear and by King Lear himself, as he's saying, nothing will come of nothing. So actually King Lear had decided to retire and divide his property among his children, that is his three daughters. He just wanted to relax and enjoy his retirement. So he asked his daughters, all three, Regan, Goneril and Cordelia, to come and express their love for him in elaborate speeches. So Regan and Goneril, who were quite cunning, they expressed their love in elaborate speeches. They made elaborate speeches expressing their love for their father. Though it was just a show, they didn't love their father that much in reality. It was only Cordelia who really loved her father. So after the two, Regan and Goneril, made their speeches, King Lear asked Cordelia to express her love, but she was unable to say anything, or she couldn't say anything like her sisters. And when King Lear asked her again, she said nothing. So at this, King Lear said, nothing will come of nothing. Means if you have nothing to speak, then you will get nothing. So that's how this dialogue, that nothing will come of nothing. Next one is from Hamlet, spoken by Hamlet himself. And this he said to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, two of Hamlet's acquaintances from the university. Actually, they were brought to Denmark by Claudius, his uncle, just to spy Hamlet. So when Hamlet asked them that why you came to Denmark, which is actually like a prison, so they said that they don't think it to be so. They don't think Denmark to be a prison. So at this, Hamlet responded that there is nothing either good or bad but thinking. Means if you think it to be good, or if you think it not to be a prison, then okay, it is perhaps so to you, because it's all about our thinking. That it's our thinking that makes things to be good or to be bad. To Hamlet it was like a prison, but it may not be so for them. That's what he was trying to explain here. And the next one is from Julius Caesar, which was spoken by Mark Antony after Caesar's death, when he sought a chance to address the people there. So using his rhetoric, he was able to rouse or move the public there, and to fail the intention of Brutus and Cassius and other criminals. He said, at this point, he said to the public, the evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. Interred means buried. So he was trying to move the public, saying that, okay, Brutus and Cassius, they were enumerating his evils or bad deeds. So he's simply saying that only that lives, what good he has done, that is often buried. So Julius Caesar was man of people. So the public supported him, and he was trying to encash that sentiment for Julius Caesar, and that's why he said that his good the good is often buried. And that's how in the case of Julius Caesar it seems that you have forgotten all the good deeds he has done for you. So he is trying to evoke the sentiments in the public about Julius Caesar. The next one is from Hamlet, and this is spoken by Polonius, the chief counselor, to his son, who actually was the father of Laertes and Ophelia. So he is speaking or telling this to his son Laertes, who was going to Paris. So he was trying to tell him that neither a borrower nor a lender me, that is, he should not borrow from anybody nor should he lend, because when you do this you lose both the loan itself and the friend also. So it's a case of losing altogether. And moreover, it also, like if you loan out something, if you loan out some cash, in most of the cases you lose the money, and moreover the relations are also spoiled. And the other thing is your management, how you manage your finances, that too gets dull or blunt. So he was trying to give a wise advice to his son Laertes here. Next one is from The Tempest, and this is spoken by Trinculo, a jester in the play. When all shipwrecked, they land on an uncharted island, and there he found an islander, Caliban, so who seemed to him like a dead fish, and later he realized that it was not a dead fish, rather an islander. So realizing that, he uttered this sentence, that misery acquaints a man with strange bedfellows. That really when you are in bad situations, when misfortune falls upon you, you have to acquaint with strange kind of people where there is nothing in common, in whom there is nothing in common. So actually they have nothing in common, yet they have to accommodate themselves with those people there, quite strange people there, and that's why he uttered this statement. Next one is from King Lear, and the dialogue is, I am a man more sinned against than sinning. It was spoken by King Lear when he was thrown out of doors by his two daughters Regan and Goneril, and out in the storm he was feeling all disappointed and desperate. The fool was after him or there with him, trying to make him understand that to have some shelter. His friend Kent was also there to tell him and to help him out and advise him that he should take shelter somewhere. And at that time actually King Lear, all powerless, speaks this or utters this out as if wanted the storm and lightning to strike the palace, that in a pathetic way he says that I am a man more sinned against than sinning, that though I might have committed sins, he of course realizes what he did to his daughter Cordelia, who actually loved him very much. So whatever sins he had committed, perhaps he was being punished more than what he had done. So that's what he meant here. Next is, brevity is the soul of wit, taken from Hamlet and spoken by Polonius to the king and queen. He was trying to tell them that your son is completely mad. That means he was talking about Hamlet to king and queen, and though he is saying that brevity is the soul of wit, that a witty person should speak less. Brevity, that is terseness or pithiness or say compactness, succinctness. So what he is trying to say that a witty person should be terse, should speak less, but actually this statement or this sentence comes out after a long description from Polonius, a long description about Hamlet, and then at the end he says, so it is quite funny in itself that after talking too much he is saying that one should be terse in one's expression. So quite a humorous one here. And then the next one is, love all, trust a few, do wrong to none, from all is well that ends well. And it was spoken by the Countess to her son Bertram as he leaves after his father's death. So a wise advice given to the son by his mother, and of course it's a timeless one, applicable to all in all over the world, in any situation, at any place. It's a wise advice to be followed, can be said. The next is from As You Like It, and it is uttered by the fool, and the fool is touched on. So the fool touched on, who is a fool in Duke Frederick's court. So he is speaking this to William, a young country boy who is in love with Audrey, a simple goatherd. So William, a young country boy, is in love with Audrey, a simple goatherd, and he touched on speaks this to William, and he says, the fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. So those who are fools, actually they think that they are wise, or they pretend to be wise, but who actually are wise, they never show themselves to be wise, rather they think of themselves to be fools. So that is the quality of wise people, and also the quality of fools. So that's what he is telling William here. Next one is from Macbeth, and spoken by Lady Macbeth to Macbeth. And when both Lady Macbeth and Macbeth were full of guilt after murdering Duncan, the King Duncan. So what she meant is, what's done cannot be undone, that they had killed Duncan, the king. So now they cannot undo what they have done. The crime or their deed cannot be taken back, cannot be reversed. So it's no use worrying or feeling guilty about that. That's how she explains to her husband Macbeth. Next one is from Romeo and Juliet, and spoken by Juliet when Romeo is leaving her in the morning. He had been there with her for long. It was almost turning morning, and she is saying to mean that even saying good night is sweet, even parting is sweet, because it leaves them with an expectation, a desire to meet the next day. So there is sweetness even in sorrow, even in parting, because there will be a hope that they would meet next day again. This one is from Hamlet, and it was spoken by Polonius, and it is an aside. That means Polonius speaking to himself aside after a dialogue uttered by Prince Hamlet. What he is saying is, though this be madness, yet there is method in it. Means, whatever Hamlet spoke could be said as madness, but though he was mad and whatever he spoke was a madness, but yes, there was a pattern, a logic, a rationality in that. That's what he means by this. Next one is from Twelfth Night, and this was spoken by Olivia for Cesario. So Olivia was actually, she felt herself in love with Cesario, and Cesario is nobody but Viola in disguise. So she actually disguised herself as a man, Cesario, and Olivia felt herself in love with Cesario, not knowing that Cesario is not a man but a woman, and he actually spurns Olivia for that. So at that point she said that love sought is good, but given unsought is better. Means if you demand love and then you get, okay, it is good, but if you get love undemanded, unasked, then that is better than that. So this is what it means here. Next one is from Much Ado About Nothing, and this was spoken by Benedict. He says, everyone can master a grief, but he that has it. So actually Don Pedro, Leonato and Claudio were talking about love, and Benedict was having a toothache. So at that time he said this, that okay, you can talk of grief and problem and sorrow quite easily, and anyone can do so except the one who actually faces the problem or undergoes a problem. So as he was facing the trouble, as he was undergoing the pain of toothache, so he said, yes, I know what this pain is. You can easily say that yes, you can do this or that, you can easily overcome this, but the one who feels that pain is the one who actually realizes that. So that's what he means here. Now the next one is from Measure for Measure, and it was spoken by Aeschylus, who was a wise lord. Actually, what happens in this play is Angelo, the villain, asks Aeschylus to see for Claudio's execution. So though Angelo himself did a crime, but as he was powerful and Claudio not, so to hide his crime and being in power doing his duty, he said Aeschylus to see for Claudio's execution. And at that time, Aeschylus, knowing the reality that Angelo himself was to be or should be punished, he himself was guilty as Claudio was, but Claudio was powerless and he had all power in his hand, so that's why he was getting scot-free. So at that point he speaks that some rise by sin, that Angelo even after did a sin but he could rise, and Claudio, though he realized his guilt and he was asking forgiveness and all, but he could not. And the last one is again from Measure for Measure. It was said by Claudio when he was to be executed. So he spoke this to Duke Vincentio when Duke asked him that you hope of pardon from Lord Angelo, that even in this situation when it has been ordered, you hope of pardon. So at that point he said, the miserable have no other medicine but only hope. So what else a miserable person can do, or what a person can do in a miserable state, in a poor state? He can only hope. So that's what I am doing. So this is what Claudio says, though knowing that it was difficult from Claudio's part to forgive him or pardon him. So these are some of the important quotes from Shakespeare's plays, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll come with more such things for you. So till then, stay tuned, keep watching. Bye bye.